Hey, so this is Sagittarius compatibility video. So I took a break for a little bit from doing compatibility videos, and now I'm resuming, so I decided to go with Sagittarius first. So Sagittarius is mutable fire, and so mutable fire likes to spread, right? And so that's what you'll see a lot with Sagittarius energy. It either it has to be going somewhere or doing something, or simply sharing their message, because besides being active and always having ideas, traveling. It's also, Sagittarius is also associated with knowledge. So there's this also need to feed their inner, their inner self when it comes to knowledge and knowing things and learning new things and being on new adventures. So when you think about all that energy and think about a relationship, Sagittarius doesn't like to feel confined. And though so many Sagittariuses might long for a relationship, they are the type that don't quite want to be stifled in one, right? Like they don't really want to lose themselves in a relationship. They will need some amount of freedom in the relationship. You'll see a lot of Sagittarius is they might have hobbies that are different than their partners, or something that they do that has nothing to do with their relationship, because one, they're just very, centered in, having to improve society or improve things. And you'll see a lot of Sagittarius involved with social causes and things like that. So let's move on to the actual compatibility between the different signs. So first, let's say the first sign of the zodiac, Aries and Sagittarius. So Sagittarius and Aries at first will seem like they get along very well because they have a lot of energy and they're both fire signs. And so a lot of people will say things like, oh, well, fire and fire works fine. I think that in terms of relationship, I think that your Sagittarius person, no matter how active they are, no matter how much they want to travel, no matter how much they want to do different things, Sagittarius, they need someone who's going to intellectually stimulate them. And I'm in no way, shape, or form saying that an Aries can't do that. Again, you have to look at the whole chart. But Aries, they like to do. They don't like to sit and ponder. And so sometimes Aries can be take way more initiative than Sagittarius, because Sagittarius has to think of things. They have to think, they're the most intellectual of the fire signs, so they have to think about how to do something. They want to think about how it's going to impact other people. And Aries is not really thinking about how things are going to impact other people. This is the sign of self. And so in a relationship, at times it can be extremes, because Aries can come across as selfish and Sagittarius can come across as petty. So what can happen is, if there's any difficulty in the relationship, sometimes there's no one willing to be the bigger person, and they can let things kind of linger and let things kind of boil over to the point when then they don't want to pursue the relationship anymore. They're bored of it. And both signs can get kind of bored of each other. So Sagittarius can get bored very easily. You have to mentally stimulate them. They're kind of like Gemini. Whereas, Sagittarius, they're not going to want to be in a boring relationship for long. And, some of them, especially if they have Venus in Sagittarius, can be known for being flirtatious or not wanting to be tied down to one person. And so, when you compare that with Aries can, be very passionate, but Aries at the same time, once they're done, they're pretty much done. Okay. So once that fire is out with Aries, it's done. Okay. And so as far as compatibility goes, sometimes I feel like Sagittarius and Aries can be better off as friends. I think as a relationship goes, they both can kind of be, they're not really, there's no one in the relationship to really kind of hold the anchor, is what I want to say. Because Aries wants to be adventurous too, and at Sagittarius, and at first that's what will draw them to each other. But at the same time, Aries likes to do things on their own, or Aries sometimes won't consult Sagittarius on certain things, and Sagittarius sometimes can have a superiority complex over the Aries mentally, okay? And so sometimes Aries can think that the Sagittarius is kind of condescending to them. And so as far as compatibility goes, I think the two people just have to really work together to make sure that they, they're not, making very hasty decisions. As fire signs can make hasty decisions. And sometimes you could have two people who aren't willing to make it work because nobody's willing to step up. No one's willing to bridge the gap. They both have their egos attached, especially Aries. Aries' ego is way bigger than Sagittarius, but Sagittarius also doesn't like to waste time because Sagittarius has too much to do. And the difference is Aries likes to do things for the pure fun of it, for the pure adventure of it, but Sagittarius feels a calling to do things that impact humanity or impact other people in a bigger way. You know, they can be very deep with philosophy and like social change. You know, Sagittarius is the traveler, like to spread their word. And so sometimes they can have different directions in the way they live their life. And that could be the thing that causes a disconnect between the two. Now, I'm not going to say it's the worst pairing of all time. It can work. It's just, those are the difficulties I just would want someone to be aware of. Okay. And so next we have Taurus. Taurus is mutable. I mean, no. Fixed earth. So, you know, kind of stubborn, stuck in their own ways, but they're stuck in their own ways because they truly trust themselves. And they're, you know, kind of like how their opposite sign, Scorpio, trusts themselves. And so they're very grounded, and Taurus energy is the foundation. It sets the foundation for everything else. Taurus can be steady. Taurus can take its time because it's building the actual foundation. It is the blueprint of what everything else is going to basically develop into. Okay. And so, you know, Sagittarius and Taurus pairing, you know, if the Sagittarius has a deep need for stability, it could be a great relationship because Taurus wants to give that, especially if it's a person with a lot of Taurus in their other placements. You know, if they're Taurus sun, Taurus moon, or Taurus with, you know, Mercury in Taurus, Venus in Taurus. So this is going to be Mars in Taurus. This is a person who stability is very important to them. And Sagittarius sometimes can lack that. Sagittarius can sometimes be very, you know, really have great ideas and really want to do something in a big way, but they fail sometimes to build the foundation to keep something steady. So remember, that's an earthy thing. That's the earth sign, right? And so Sagittarius could often be drawn to Taurus and their ability to do that, their ability to be solid, their ability to make smart decisions financially, their ability to just have a lot of just self-control and just, you know, Sagittarius can also want to do so much so that they give too much of themselves. You know, they give selflessly. I think of the fire signs, Sagittarius is the most selfless, you know. I mean, Leo, you understand, like Leo can be very generous, but I also feel like sometimes Leo can do some of these things for their own sake, Leo energy. But I think Sagittarius has just a different of reason for why they're doing these things. And so, you know, they can be really attracted to how Taurus is, you know, stands firm in who they are. They don't really change all the time. Sagittarius energy can kind of go all over the place. Sometimes it's not really steady. There's a lack of structure, and sometimes Sagittarius can be drawn to that with Taurus. But on the flip side, Sagittarius, you know, if the Sagittarius person is more open and everything in life has to be adventurous and fun and enlightening, and you know, they want to experience all these things, they can find Taurus too boring. They can look at Taurus and say, well, you know, you don't want to do anything new, you don't want to go anywhere new, you're only staying in your comfort zone. Sagittarius doesn't care about comfort zone all that much. Now again, you have to look at your other placements, because you're Sagittarius with a Taurus rising, maybe you're more willing to follow this Taurus way of living. If you're a Sagittarius with a Taurus North Node, right? Any of those things. And so in general, I think it's not the best compatibility. You know, it's earth and it's fire, mutable versus fixed. You know, it's just not really the most compatible pair. But again, there's people of all types of signs together, so it doesn't mean it can't happen, but those are some things that you would have to work through. If someone's a true Taurus and a true Sagittarius, they could have those different. And the flip side, Taurus can look at you, Sagittarius, as you don't have the foundation, that you lack direction, that you have great ideas but you don't put them into, you know, action, right? And Taurus wants foundation. You know, they can look at Sagittarius like, wow, that's a great idea, but like, how is it going to happen? Or they can look at Sagittarius like, well, you know, you want to do too much and I just want to stay here. I just want to be predictable. Earth signs like predictability, especially I would say Taurus and Virgo. Okay, so all right, let's move on to the next sign. Okay, so now we have Gemini and Sagittarius. I think did I do Gemini compatibility? I don't know, I might have, but I actually think these two signs are pretty compatible, to be honest with you. They're both mutable signs. So these are both people who are able to change gears, change their mind, change directions if need be. You know, they're able to change for the greater good of something. You know, a lot of the other signs can't always do that, especially fixed signs. Have a hard time letting go of what they perceive as their reality, which can sometimes be good, but it could also be a hindrance. And so Gemini and Sagittarius, Gemini is a very curious sign, knowledge and books and learning and communication, you know, very talkative. Some of them are very flirtatious. Some of them are just very social. And so Sagittarius can also, you know, has a similar energy, especially when it comes to knowledge and sharing things and experiences. And so those Sagittarius might want to be more, is more outgoing in terms of where they go, what they do. Gemini has a similar energy. So at first, like that even might be how Gemini and Sagittarius people meet. They're on a vacation, they're on a trip together, they're at a party, they're at an event. You know, it's not for the sake of going. Like a Libra might just go because it's everybody's there. They like to learn. And so I think these two can have a good relationship together, especially when it comes to like being long term and having similar lifestyles, you know, traveling. These are people who Gemini and Sagittarius probably would both be willing to, if they have to move where they are, they'll move without feeling like a lot of like, oh, I have to stay where I am, or any anxiety. I think the only problem can be the two mutable signs, mutable air and mutable fire. Fire likes to spread, so air can go anywhere. And so sometimes both of these signs, or one of the signs, or people in this, can have issues with being, you know, truthful, issues with being faithful, just because, and again, I'm not saying all Geminis, all Sagittarius, I'm just saying the likelihood based on other placements. Again, you would have to look at someone's whole chart. But what I'm saying is there's a difference there because they're curious. Sagittarius can kind of go wherever they feel, a calling. And Sagittarius can also kind of have this damsel in distress thing where they like to help, not them, but they like to help the damsel in distress, or they like to help the person in need, right? So sometimes Sagittarius people can get into these relationships where they're helping someone, right? And, you know, kind of like how Virgo, Pisces, Pisces is different. I don't think Pisces is that, but like they can get in these relationships where they're trying to help someone or fix them or whatever. Okay. And so Gemini is very curious, and so Gemini's flirtatious can be flirtatious. Even some Geminis who aren't trying to be flirtatious can come across flirtatious, and so that can be the issue with that, because Sagittarius gets jealous easily, and I feel like Gemini is air, so we can kind of disassociate that. But fire is a little bit more passionate, and so there you can have these issues if one or two of the people in the actual relationship are just, you know, too open to other people, or they're always looking for what else is interesting and they're not really paying attention to what's in front of them. But in general, I think it's a good pairing if they can get, you know, overcome that. And if that's not an issue in your relationship, it could be a good pairing. All right, so after Gemini, we have our Cancers, okay? And so I think the biggest thing to realize about Cancer energy is like it's emotional, it's reflective, but at the same time, it is also very specific. Cancer has very specific demands on the people in their life, especially people that they are close to. And so Sagittarius, you can get in a situation where you're friends with a Cancer person, or you know them and you're like, wow, this person's great and caring. But if you get into a relationship with them, you're going to see a different side of them, because they're going to have different requirements of you, Sagittarius. So a lot of you get involved with these Cancers and you're like, whoa, what's going on? We were friends and it was cool. Yeah, because Cancer has different requirements of the people they love or that they're close to. They have different expectations for you. And so Sagittarius and Cancer, I don't think romantically is the best fit. Because, you know, one, we have Cancer, which is cardinal water. And so this is, you know, an energy that is very, very strong in terms of emotions. And so, like I said, they can have demands on people in their life. Sagittarius is not really sentimental like that. And so sometimes Sagittarius can come across as very brash. You know, they can come across as abrasive. Sagittarius can kind of say things that might hurt Cancer's feelings. And, you know, I think as a relationship, unless there's other energies to balance it out, that can be a lot for Cancer to deal with over time. You know, of course, if someone loves somebody, they can stay in a relationship with them no matter what their energies are. But I think just in general, I think Sagittarius, you could think Cancer is too sensitive. You could think that energy is, you know, too sensitive, where you kind of have to walk on eggshells about what you say to somebody. And so that's why I said, like, Sagittarius and Cancer energy it can be good in other aspects, but when it comes to relationships, especially relationships when you're like, you're only with this other person, like they can kind of be very demanding or can come across that way, and you like freedom. And I think Cancer doesn't like as much freedom as Sagittarius wants. You see what I'm saying? And so it doesn't even mean freedom, meaning like you're with other people, because simply means Sagittarius, sometimes you just need time alone. Or you're like, hey, I want to, you want to explore things. You want to go do different things. And sometimes, Cancer might want to just stay home, or Cancer might not be willing to do all of that. Again, you have to look at someone's whole chart. I'm not saying this is the same for everybody, but in general, as far as romance go, I don't think Sagittarius and Cancer is the best fit. Okay. All right. Leo and Sagittarius. So you're both fire signs. Okay. And I did do Leo and Sagittarius. I did do Leo and Sagittarius. I think what I said was the same thing I kind of said for Aries, where I said like, sorry. I said that, again, I'm doing this based on just sun signs mainly, right? So you have to look at someone's entire chart. But for the most part, Sagittarius, sometimes Leo, you might not view Leo as deep enough for you. So Sagittarius likes to go in depth with certain topics and things. So they're fire, right? But they want to get the information and do something with it, right? They want to do something with the information. Okay. It's not like how Virgo likes to get information, and Virgo wants to internalize it, and Virgo wants to see, how is this going to help my life? How can I apply this to life? That's earthy stuff, right? Gemini gets the information. It's also ruled by Mercury like Virgo. So Gemini gets the information, and Gemini wants to share the information with other people because they're a sign of communication, right? And so like that's what Gemini talks a lot, or Gemini shares information. So Sagittarius, you like to get the information. You want to do something with the information. Like you literally want to use it to cause change, or you literally want to use the information to better something, or you want to use the information to say, well, what if we did this? You have these lofty ideas. And Leo likes to spend money. So sometimes it can work in your favor because, you might have these ideas, but Leo wants to spoil what they care about, right? So Leo will spoil their children. Leo will spoil their friends, their family, all those different things. But Sagittarius, sometimes you have things that you want to happen that has nothing to do with, Leo's, for lack of a better word, ego. And so Leo sometimes can look at a situation like, well, I don't really want to do that. That's not benefiting me. That's not really fun. That's not really, why do we have to go do that? So there can be differences in lifestyle. You guys have differences in what you value. Now, Leo, I love Leo. Okay. It's one of my favorite signs. I have Leo on my chart. So Leo was very generous. Leo was fun to be around. Leo cares. So here's what I mean. Now, don't get me wrong. Their ego is very much intact. Leo, if they shine, they want you to shine too. But Sagittarius, sometimes you don't really care about all of that. And so sometimes there could be differences in how you perceive situations. Like Leo might want you to dress your best, kind of like Libra, but Leo wants you to look nice. And so they might buy you something, or they might say like, why don't you try this? This looks better. And Sagittarius, you don't really tend to care about that type of stuff. You care about, spreading knowledge, experience, wisdom. You care about those types of things. And so there can be differences there with like lifestyle and what you value. Like you don't care about having the latest this or the riches and things like that. Like everybody wants money. Don't get me wrong, everybody wants money. But like Leo wants the finer things in life sometimes. They like to show the finer things in life. But you actually want to use what you have to better something in some way, or to accumulate resources so that you can actually do something with that, right? And so that's where you have these differences here of like what you don't care about shining as much, whereas Leo does. And so if you're in a relationship with a person who values appearances or values how something looks, there's going to be an issue there, because you like to look at the bigger picture. So does Leo, but Leo does it for a different reason. And so I think as far as the relationship goes, I think it's kind of a medium match. I think it's a medium match. You're both fire signs, so that's a benefit there. I do think that there are differences in just your approach to situations. And so if you're a person who internalizes that, like sometimes some people want a relationship with people that, are on the same wavelength. Like you don't want somebody who has a completely different, view on life. You might, I don't mean that you don't want somebody that has a different opinion, but sometimes it's like some people's approach to life is just so much different than others. People that they don't want to deal with that. So I think that's like a medium, because people will say fire and fire goes great together, and I'm like, but you have to look at the specifics of it. So you can't just look at like all fire signs are going to be great together, because it's a competing interest going on. All right, okay, so Virgo and Sagittarius. Okay, so let me switch hands. Because I'm using my hand to film this, my camera, my phone, and I just don't feel like getting a little stand thing, so I'm just doing this. All right, so Virgo and Sagittarius. So Virgo is immutable, and so is Sagittarius. So these are both mutable signs. Again, can switch gears, can switch directions based on what's necessary. You know, as far as a relationship goes, it's, I think the difference is like at first, Sagittarius can appreciate how Virgo is very specific and detail oriented, because Sagittarius is about the big pictures, and sometimes Virgo can pick up on things that Sagittarius missed. And Virgo can appreciate the fact that Sagittarius is big picture because Virgo spends so much time over the minute details of things. Sagittarius can kind of like blow things up where it's like, oh wow, this is the greater impact this thing can have, and so, and like what I said with Taurus, like at first they might like certain aspects of each other that they lack, right? And be drawn to that. I think it depends on the other signs of the people, but I do think there could be some compatibility differences because Virgo might like things a certain way. Virgo's definitely probably going to be like that in the household. Sagittarius is kind of going to work on their own time. Sagittarius is thinking of the bigger outcome, and Virgo is obsessing over how, it's kind of like Virgo obsessed over how it gets done. Sagittarius is what gets done. Do you see what I'm saying? And so I think as a relationship, they can teach each other a lot of different things. Virgo likes learning. Virgo likes information. They're ruled by Mercury, and so does Sagittarius. So I think they could have common interests. I think they would like and value that about each other. I think they could learn a lot from each other. I think that Virgo might be too, wants to stick to what they already know. Like I said before, Virgo is about like timeliness, time. And Virgo likes to know what's going to happen. Sagittarius doesn't need that as much. They're kind of just go with the flow. They're okay with that in some aspects. This, again, you have to look at the whole chart. If your rising is a different sign, it might not work that way. But I mean, as far as the relationship goes, I think there could be some differences in how they get things done and how they view life and how they approach it. Sagittarius might open Virgo's eyes up a little bit more to like, hey, you've been stuck here. Let's do this. Let's go out here. Let's explore. Let's do this. Let's do that. Don't be so stuck in your own ways. They will vibe probably well on an intellectual level. As a relationship, unless the Sagittarius, unless you view the Virgo as like too nitpicky, too detail-oriented, too, whatever. But again, it also depends on other placements, because if you're a Virgo with Sagittarius energy, you're going to understand it. If you're a Sagittarius with Virgo energy, you're going to understand it. Just like if you're Sagittarius with Leo energy, you're going to understand it better. So your tolerance level for each other is going to be higher because you already have that sign somewhere in your placements, okay? I think it can work. Virgo and Sagittarius energy, I think it can work. I think that, Virgo, they're both mutable, so they're kind of they're able to kind of make it work. They're able to kind of like have a synergy with each other where they make it work, where they're more tolerant of each other because they can kind of like, because Virgo can look at it like, okay, well, Sagittarius is different than me, but they're willing to see my perspective. And Sagittarius can look at Virgo the same, like, well, because, everyone thinks like Virgo's nitpicky and detail-oriented. First of all, you know how many things would be missing in this world if you didn't have somebody checking it? You know how many things in this world would be messed up if you had someone like, oh, wait, actually, did you notice that? But anyway, my point is that Virgo is mutable, though. People don't pay attention to the astrology stuff. Mutable energy is able to take any form. Mutable energy is able to shift and change if needed. Virgo is about outcome. Virgo is an earth sign. So if something makes sense, Sagittarius, Virgo's more likely to change it. So if you want to get the Virgo on your side, make it make sense. All right, let me move on. Yeah, I mean, that's an all right pairing. I wouldn't say it's the best pairing of all time. It's not like Gemini and Sagittarius. I think if they can be a good pairing. I think, Virgo and Sagittarius, it's all right. Libra and Sagittarius. And this is a very interesting pairing because on the surface level, they really don't have much in common. Libra, sign of Venus. Libra is a cardinal. Libra is about social life, partnership. Okay, partnership. And sometimes Libra to a Sagittarius might come across as like, Sagittarius can rush into things too. They can. But I think like at first, like Sagittarius and Libra, they will have an instant connection to each other because they're willing. Libra is willing. Libras can be very flirtatious, just like Gemini can. Watch those air signs, except for Aquarius. Aquarius isn't as flirtatious as the other two. So I think that, when you're thinking about Libra energy and Sagittarius energy, well, Libra's going to want to talk and relate to you. And Sagittarius kind of likes that. Sagittarius is, if you're able to get them in a conversation of something that they care about, something that they actually want to, fix, or something that they actually think is like worthwhile talking about, you can actually probably get the Sagittarius energy a lot. So I think with Sagittarius and Libra, I think it's a pretty decent pairing. Libra, thing with Libra, it's an air sign and ruled by Venus. And sometimes Libra, like Sagittarius, can be kind of flighty. So Libra can be indecisive about things, but Sagittarius, you can be indecisive too. And so I think that, unfortunately, two negative qualities together means that there's not anybody in the relationship really kind of being the stable one, right? A lot of Sagittarius and Libra relationships can be kind of off and on, because Sagittarius can fear commitment a lot. Libra, though they love beautiful things, Libra loves attracting, right? They can also be indecisive, and Libra often has a lot of options. Libra, they draw a lot of people's attention, so Libra often can have more than one person waiting in the wings. And so I think this is a situation where this can be a very off and on type of situation. Okay. But I think in general, as far as compatibility, some people might disagree. I think it's not a bad pairing, but this, there's a lack of somebody, like how like in a relationship, a Virgo person is earthy, so it's going to have stability, and Taurus is going to have stability. It's like, this is what I actually need and want from you. Libra and Sagittarius can both play that game together. They can both play that game where somebody, they're off and on and they're okay with it because neither one of them is willing to commit. All right. All right. So let me speed this up. I do not want this to be like a 60-minute video. All right. So, Scorpio and Sagittarius. Neighbors. Okay. Scorpio and Sagittarius. Well, okay. So Scorpio and Sagittarius. I would say, I think yes, but here's what I will say about it. I would say yes on the Scorpio can be very attracted to Sagittarius. Sagittarius has a very intellectual vibe about them, and Scorpio likes to figure people out, and Scorpio likes to dig beneath the surface. Scorpio just likes that. Scorpio finds people more intriguing when there's something deeper or something more than just what's on the outside, and Sagittarius can kind of be that. So Sagittarius can kind of be unpredictable, or that like that bag that tricks you, just never know what you're gonna get. And so Scorpio can sometimes be very attracted to that because they're trying to figure you out, especially Venus and Scorpio energy. And so Sagittarius, the problems can come when Sagittarius needs freedom, and Scorpio can be very possessive. And even your most nice Scorpio people still feel a need to consume who they're with. They want to give you affection, or they want, excuse me, to give you love. And so Sagittarius just might need that freedom that Scorpio is not willing to give them, or Scorpio is just not understanding. Like, well, what do you mean you need space? Why do you need space? If you care about me, you'll be with me when I want you to. And Sagittarius, so sometimes it's difficult for them to explain to each other what each other needs, because Scorpio and Sagittarius don't quite get it. They don't quite get each other's emotional needs, but they can definitely fulfill each other's other needs. They're probably really attracted to each other. Like I said before, Sagittarius is also into the unknown, or curious, or what can be figured out. Excuse me. Okay, so a lot of Sagittarius, especially if Scorpio can get them in a conversation, they're intrigued. They want to know more about you. Scorpio can come across as very mysterious and alluring. And so Sagittarius might be attracted to that at first. These are two signs that can be very attracted to each other at first. I think the difference is the way that you show love is going to pretty much be very, very different, because Scorpio might want more of you than you can actually give them. And this is... these can be this pairing where like it isn't like the most easy relationship. A lot of times it can be a situation that doesn't really go very far, because once Scorpio wants more, you fear it and you walk away, or you run away. And the Sagittarius does have to learn how to, be in their feelings, be comfortable in their feelings. I mean, it's a fire energy. It's not comfortable in their feelings. So That's what you would have to learn in order to be the Scorpio. Capricorn. Okay. So, Capricorn. Okay. So, the thing with Capricorn and Sagittarius is that they really are kind of operating on different spectrums. Now, again, look at the whole chart. There's a Capricorn, you could be a Capricorn person, but your Mercury is in Sagittarius. So you understand Sagittarius energy better, right? But in general, Sagittarius thinks Capricorn is too structured, might think that Capricorn is too by the book. Sagittarius doesn't like to follow the rules all that much. Sagittarius views Capricorn as maybe, you know, being too cold, not, you know, not igniting enough passion, right? As far as a relationship goes. And so Sagittarius initially are often not super attracted to Capricorn energy. Like, remember what I said, like Virgo, Sagittarius might be more attracted to Virgo energy at first because they're both mutable signs. So even if they don't like the Virgo that much, there's some commonality there. And, you know, Capricorn is cardinal energy, and Capricorn is known to be the sign of like father. And so that's where you get this very paternal like person sometimes. And again, like look at the whole chart, because you're a Capricorn with a Gemini rising and, you know, a Leo moon, you're going to be a very different type of Capricorn person. But as far as a relationship goes, you know, they could keep you steady though, Sagittarius. Like while you're sitting here thinking, oh, Capricorn's boring, or they don't want to do this and that, da, 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 like they could actually be a good partner for you if you're irresponsible, because they have structure and they, you know, they know how, they're like the big picture, but they can help you see how to make money out of that, or how to make a foundation out of the big picture. Because sometimes, Sagittarius, you could be too self-sacrificing to the point where you don't even really do everything. You have so much potential, some of y'all, but you don't do anything with the potential because you lack the earthy foundation that earth signs have. And so that is where Capricorn can teach you a lot. If you're in a relationship with a Capricorn Sagittarius, this person might be able to show you how to be more responsible, be more mature at your decisions, because you have great ideas and you have the passion. You can also teach Capricorn how to not be so stuck in their ways. You could teach Capricorn to not be so stern, and how to, you know, sometimes be a little unpredictable, right? So I think that's a more of a relationship where y'all would learn something from each other. Okay. Now, so after Capricorn, what do we have? Aquarius. Okay. So Aquarius and Sagittarius. Typically no. Typically no. And I say that because Aquarius is, though you can have good conversations, I think that's where it is. You don't view them as passionate enough for you. And so Aquarius is fixed air. And so a lot of times they're really stuck in their opinions, where you have your convictions, Sagittarius, but you can also change depending on what you know. And you feel like Aquarius doesn't really do that, you know. And a lot of times Sagittarius and Aquarius, you guys can have really good friendships, but when it comes to relationship, they're lacking something that you need. You need a little bit more adventurousness. Adventurousness. Is that a word? No. Adventurousness is not a word. Adventure. So, you know, now where you guys might have things in common is they're unpredictable. So they're ruled by Saturn and Uranus. And so it gives them that kind of like, they can be very serious and logical, but they also can be unpredictable and quirky and outside the box. So think outside the box. Sagittarius, you can do the same thing. You both care about humanity. So some relationships can actually work between Sagittarius and Aquarius because you both might have a similar outlook on how people should be treated in society. You have a similar outlook on, you know, humanitarianism. You have a similar outlook. And so I think in general as a relationship that could be good, because if you have similar interests. Now, again, like I said, the passion can be lacking between you and Aquarius, because Aquarius can be very passionate about causes and big ideas. But as far as love, there's a coldness, well, not cold. Yeah. Some Aquariuses can come out kind of cold, kind of cynical. Now, you can be very cynical too, but you look at it like it's kind of a different cynical than like Gemini, where like Gemini is kind of playful and it's like, ha ha ha. But with Aquarius, you kind of look at them like, and y'all can kind of sometimes have like issues with each other because you know, you might think they're joking. They might be joking. They think you're joking. And kind of sometimes it's miscommunication in regards to like what you actually are, you know, trying to say. And I think that as a relationship, it's not always the best fit. but it can work because you both care about some of the similar things. It's just something you might find passion, and that's where the draw of it comes in, right? Because like I said before, Aries and Sagittarius, y'all can be drawn to each other and have a lot of passion, but your outlook on things can be different. And so it's really just depends on what you're looking for in a relationship. Every relationship is going to have some type of challenge, and it's really just what your deal breaker is. All right, and so lastly, let's go to our Pisces, folks. Okay, Pisces. Okay, so Pisces, last sign of Zodiac, compassionate, mutable, water. In general, I think you could work with Pisces because you're both mutable. I mean, a lot of people think just because someone's the same element, it's going to magically work. So a lot of people say fire and fire, earth with earth, and all that stuff. I kind of agree to an extent, but I also think you have to look at other things. Is it cardinal? Is it fixed? All these other things, what planet it's ruled by. So I'm not the type of person, like I don't really go by it necessarily that it's elements mean I understand you more. It doesn't mean I want you more in the relationship aspect. You see what I'm saying? So I think that Pisces and Sagittarius, you're both mutable. You understand how to, I think you both understand how to navigate around each other's feelings. Pisces can be really sensitive. So I think that though it can work in some ways, you have to be a little bit more sensitive with them than you even are with the Cancer. But Cancer will show you they're upset. Pisces internalizes a lot of things to the point where sometimes you won't even know that Pisces is mad, and they'll just stop talking to you, or they'll just stop hanging out with you, or they'll stop calling you back, and you'll just be like, what's wrong? And it could be something that happened like 4 months ago. But Pisces internalizes a lot. They are very compassionate, so these are people that are able to relate well to other people. And so Pisces will have a way, Sagittarius, in making you feel special because they are going to listen. They're going to listen to all your ideas, all the things you want to do. They are going to be accepting. So any weird ideas that you have or anything that's like kind of just not by the book, Pisces doesn't really judge. Pisces understands the need to be unique and the way the need to express oneself. And so I think naturally you're going to feel comfort with this Pisces person, because sometimes Sagittarius, you aren't really understood. I mean, you're very interesting where you're a fire sign, but you're also of the fire signs, you are more into intellectualism and wisdom and philosophy and teaching and adventure and long journeys and travel. And so and you're not as self-involved as the other two fire signs. You use your energy to exert to other people. And Pisces can kind of understand that same thing because Pisces wants to care about everybody. Like I said, I didn't say in this video, Cancer cares about family and loved ones, and the most, right? Loved ones, family, friends, the most. Scorpio, who they choose to care about. Scorpio does not feel obligated to you just because you're family. Scorpio chooses the fixed water. They choose who to care about. And then we have Pisces, who cares about everybody. And you kind of care about everybody too, Sagittarius. Though you have like a little bit rough edges around, like, you can kind of be very petty at times. If you're upset, if someone angers you, there is you fiery, very fiery then. And so I think as far as a relationship goes, it can feel really good at first. It can feel very, almost some of you might feel like this person's your soulmate. I do think there can be issues there. Pisces sometimes doesn't tell their true feelings. Pisces can sometimes be Pisces energy can be very beautiful, but it also can be wishy-washy, especially when it comes to relationships. Like they're afraid to leave. They're afraid to like let it go. They're afraid to say it. Some of them can be afraid to hurt someone's feelings. And Pisces, in Sagittarius, you're not afraid. And so you can often sometimes view Pisces as, well, why don't you just say what you need? Why don't you say what you need to say? And there can be communication differences between you. Now, you might really, really bond on an intellectual level, bond on a spiritual level. You can bond on a spiritual level, but communication can definitely be an issue between you two. All right, so that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the like button if you did. Thanks.